She wanted me to end on our anniversary.
Happy anniversary, darling, Vanessa said, her voice dripping with fake sweetness as she handed me a cup of coffee that smelled like it could strip paint. I thought we'd celebrate at the cabin this weekend. I stared at my wife of 12 years, noting how her smile didn't quite reach her eyes. Something was off, but I couldn't put my finger on it. Maybe it was the way she'd been acting lately, distant, secretive, always on her phone. Or maybe it was because I'd been out of work for 3 months, and the stress was getting to both of us. The cabin? Really? I set the coffee down without drinking it. Vanessa, we can barely afford groceries right now. A weekend getaway seems... It's already paid for, she interrupted, that plastic smile still plastered on her face. My mother offered to cover it. She thinks we need time to reconnect. Of course, Judith Morrison, my mother-in-law, who'd never missed an opportunity to remind me that her daughter married beneath her station. I was Eric Dorsey, former Minneapolis cop turned freelance security consultant, currently unemployed and running out of savings. Not exactly the Prince Charming Judith had envisioned for her precious daughter. Dad, can I talk to you? My 9-year-old daughter Chloe appeared in the kitchen doorway, her dark hair messy from sleep, clutching her favorite stuffed elephant. Sure, sweetheart. I ruffled her hair as she climbed onto the stool next to me. What's on your mind? Chloe glanced at her mother, then back at me. Are we really going to the cabin? Looks like it, I said, watching Vanessa busy herself at the counter. Why? Don't you want to go? Before Chloe could answer, Vanessa spun around. Of course she wants to go. It'll be fun, won't it, honey? Just the 3 of us, like old times. But Chloe's expression told a different story. She looked worried, almost scared. I made a mental note to talk to her privately later. My phone buzzed with a text from Leon Martinez, my former partner from the force and current best friend. Coffee later. Need to hear about your domestic bliss. I typed back, can't. Apparently I'm being dragged to a romantic cabin retreat. His response came immediately. Ouch. My condolences. Leon always knew how to make me laugh, even when everything else was falling apart. We'd been partners for 5 years before I left the force to start my security consulting business. That had been going well until the economy tanked and companies started cutting their security budgets. Now I was scrambling to find work while Vanessa acted like everything was fine. I need to run to the gym, Vanessa announced, grabbing her keys. Tyler's covering an extra class today, and I promised I'd help with the new members. Tyler Brandt. The name made my jaw clench. Vanessa's boss at the fitness center, where she taught yoga and Pilates, former college football player, still built like a linebacker at 41, with the kind of easy charm that made women swoon and men want to punch him in the face. I'd met him a few times at gym events, and something about the way he looked at my wife made my skin crawl. Will you be back for lunch? I asked. Probably not. Tyler and I have some administrative stuff to go over. She kissed my cheek, but it felt cold, perfunctory. Make sure Chloe packs for the cabin. We're leaving first thing tomorrow morning. After she left, I found Chloe in her room, staring out the window instead of packing. Hey, kiddo, what's really going on? You seemed upset about the cabin. She turned to face me, her brown eyes, so much like mine, filled with worry. Dad, I heard Mom on the phone last night. She was talking to someone about the cabin, and she sounded different. Different how? Like she was planning something? And she kept saying your name, but not in a nice way. A chill ran down my spine. What exactly did you hear? I couldn't make out all of it, but she said something about taking care of the problem and making it look natural. Dad, what did she mean? I forced a smile, not wanting to alarm her further. Probably just work stuff, sweetheart. You know how adults talk. Everything sounds more dramatic than it really is. But inside, alarm bells were ringing. My cop instincts, dormant for months, suddenly roared to life. I'd learned to trust those instincts over the years, and right now they were screaming that something was very, very wrong. I spent the afternoon doing what I should have done months ago, paying attention. Really paying attention. I noticed how Vanessa had started keeping her phone face down, how she'd developed new habits, like taking calls outside or in the garage, how she'd been working late more often, always with Tyler. When she came home that evening, I was waiting in the kitchen with a beer and what I hoped looked like a relaxed smile. How was work? I asked. Fine. Busy. She didn't meet my eyes as she grabbed a water bottle from the fridge. Did Chloe pack? Most of it. She's excited about the trip. I watched her face carefully. It was nice of your mother to pay for it. Did you talk to her today? What? Oh, yes. She called while I was at the gym. Vanessa's voice was just a little too casual. She's happy we're taking time for ourselves. Another lie. I'd called Judith an hour earlier, fishing for information. She'd been surprised to hear about the cabin trip and definitely hadn't offered to pay for it. In fact, she'd seemed confused about why we'd be spending money we didn't have on a vacation. That night, after Vanessa fell asleep, I did something I'd never done in 12 years of marriage. I went through her purse. My hands shook as I found what I was looking for. A second phone, one I'd never seen before. The screen was locked, but I could see several missed texts from someone listed as T. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I lay awake staring at the ceiling, my mind racing through possibilities, each one worse than the last. By morning, I'd made a decision. Whatever Vanessa was planning, I wasn't going to walk blindly into it. As we loaded the car for our romantic getaway, I caught Chloe's eye in the rearview mirror. She looked as worried as I felt. Vanessa, on the other hand, seemed almost giddy with excitement, chattering about how wonderful the weekend would be. "It's going to be perfect," she said as we pulled out of the driveway. Just perfect. But as we headed toward the remote cabin 3 hours north of Minneapolis, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was driving toward my own funeral. We'd been on the road for about an hour when I decided to stop for gas. The station was one of those generic places off Highway 35, the kind with fluorescent lights that made everyone look like they were dying. As I filled the tank, Vanessa stayed in the car, typing furiously on her phone. "Dad," Chloe whispered as I climbed back into the driver's seat, "I need to tell you something." "What is it, sweetheart?" She glanced at her mother, who was still absorbed in her phone, then leaned forward and pressed something into my palm. It was a small piece of paper, folded tight. "Read it later," she mouthed silently. I slipped the note into my pocket and started the engine. "Everyone ready to hit the road again?" "Absolutely," Vanessa said, finally looking up from her phone. "Tyler says the weather's perfect up there." "Tyler says?" The words came out sharper than I intended. Why would Tyler know about the weather at our cabin? Vanessa's cheeks flushed pink. I just meant, he mentioned the forecast for northern Minnesota. He goes camping up there sometimes. Another lie. I could tell by the way she touched her nose, a tell she'd had since we were dating. But I just nodded and pulled back onto the highway. 20 minutes later, I made an excuse to stop at a rest area. While Vanessa took Chloe to the bathroom, I unfolded the note my daughter had given me. "Dad, turn around now. Mom has another phone. Check her purse when she's not looking. I'm scared." My blood ran cold. Chloe had seen the second phone too, but how? And what had she overheard that made her scared enough to write a note? When they returned to the car, I made my decision. "You know what? I forgot something at home," I said, turning the key in the ignition. "We need to go back." "What?" Vanessa's voice was sharp. "Eric, we're already an hour out. What could you possibly have forgotten that's so important?" "My blood pressure medication." It was a lie, but a believable one. I'd been on medication for hypertension since my police days. I can't go a whole weekend without it. "We can stop at a pharmacy. It's prescription only, Vanessa. We have to go back." I could see the panic in her eyes, quickly masked by irritation. "Fine, but this is really inconvenient." As I turned the car around, I caught sight of Vanessa texting again, her fingers flying over the screen. Whatever she was planning, my change in course was clearly throwing a wrench into it. Back home, I sent Chloe inside while I pretended to search the car for something. Vanessa followed our daughter, probably to use the bathroom, and I seized my chance. Her purse was on the front seat, and this time I didn't hesitate. The second phone was there, and this time it wasn't locked. My hands trembled as I scrolled through the messages between Vanessa and T. Clearly Tyler. What I read made my stomach drop to my shoes. "Tyler, everything ready for tonight?" Vanessa, "Yes, I put it in the coffee thermos. He always drinks coffee when he drives long distances." Tyler, "How much?" Vanessa, "Enough. Doc said it would look like a heart attack. His blood pressure makes it believable." Tyler, "And after?" Vanessa, "We wait a few months. Then we're together. The life insurance will cover everything." I had to grip the car door to keep from falling over. My wife of 12 years, the mother of my child, was planning to poison me tonight. At the cabin, the coffee thermos. She'd insisted on bringing it, said she'd made my favorite blend. I'd been planning to drink it during the evening like I always did when we went to the cabin. My hands shaking, I kept reading. Tyler. What about Chloe? Vanessa. She'll be asleep. Kids bounce back from these things, and she'll be better off without him anyway. That last line hit me like a physical blow. Not only was she planning to homicide me, but she thought our daughter would be better off without her father. I took photos of every message with my own phone, then put hers back in the purse. When Vanessa and Chloe came back out, I was leaning against the car, trying to look casual, while my world crumbled around me. Got your medication? Vanessa asked. Yeah, all set. I looked at my daughter, this brave little girl who'd tried to save my life with a folded piece of paper. Actually, you know what? I think we should skip the cabin this weekend. What? Why? The panic was back in Vanessa's voice, stronger now. Chloe's been looking a little pale. I think she might be coming down with something. I put my arm around my daughter, who played along perfectly. I do feel kind of sick, she said, leaning into me. Eric, this is ridiculous. Vanessa's mask was starting to slip. We've planned this whole weekend. The cabin's paid for. Chloe's fine. Maybe next weekend, I said firmly. Right now, I think we should stay home. Vanessa stared at me for a long moment, and I could see the wheels turning in her head. Did she suspect that I knew? Or was she just frustrated that her plan was falling apart? Fine, she said finally. But I'm still going. I need some time to think, and the cabin's already reserved. You're going alone? Tyler offered to come with me, just as a friend, to make sure I'm safe up there by myself. Of course he did. I almost laughed at the absurdity of it. She was still trying to maintain the charade, even as her homicide plot crumbled around her. Suit yourself, I said. Chloe and I will have a quiet weekend at home. But as Vanessa went inside to repack her bag, I was already formulating my own plan. I pulled out my phone and called Leon. Change of plans, I said when he answered. I need your help with something. Can you meet me at the coffee shop on Grand Avenue in an hour? Sure. Everything okay? You sound weird. I looked at my house, where my wife was probably texting her lover about their failed homicide attempt, and at my daughter, who'd risked everything to save me. No, I said, everything's definitely not okay. An hour later, I sat across from Leon in our usual booth at Mickey's Diner, watching his face change as I showed him the photos of the text messages. Jesus Christ, Eric. He set down his coffee cup with shaking hands. She was going to poison you? Tonight, at the cabin. I felt surprisingly calm now that the initial shock had worn off. If Chloe hadn't warned me, where is she now? Vanessa. Packing. She's still planning to go to the cabin with Tyler, probably to figure out their next move. Leon leaned back in the booth, his detective instincts taking over. We need to call this in. Get the police involved. With what evidence? Text messages that I obtained by going through her phone without permission? A thermos of coffee that might or might not be poisoned? I shook my head. They'd laugh us out of the station. So what do you want to do? I looked out the window at the busy street, at all the normal people living their normal lives, unaware that their worlds could be shattered by the person they trusted most. I want to destroy them, I said quietly. Both of them. Legally, publicly, completely. Leon was quiet for a moment. Then he smiled, the same predatory grin he used to get when we were closing in on a suspect. Tell me what you need. By the time I got home, Vanessa's car was gone. She'd left a note on the kitchen counter. Gone to the cabin to clear my head. Back Sunday night. Take care of Chloe. Take care of Chloe. Like I hadn't been taking care of our daughter for 9 years. Like I wasn't the one who got up with her when she had nightmares, who helped with homework, who knew that she liked her sandwiches cut diagonally and hated the crusts. Is Mom really gone? Chloe asked from the kitchen doorway. Yeah, she's gone. I knelt down to her level. Chloe, I need you to know how proud I am of you. What you did today, warning me, that was incredibly brave. Her eyes filled with tears. I heard her talking to Tyler on the phone last night. They were saying mean things about you. And Mom said something about putting something in your coffee. I got scared. I pulled her into a hug, my heart breaking for what she'd been through. No 9-year-old should have to choose between her parents, should have to carry the weight of such a terrible secret. You did the right thing, I whispered. You saved my life. That evening, after Chloe was asleep, Leon came over with a bottle of bourbon and a plan. I did some digging on your boy Tyler, he said, pouring 2 glasses. Turns out he's got some interesting financial problems. His gym is 3 months behind on rent, and he owes about 50 grand in back taxes. So he needed the life insurance money as much as she did. Looks like it. But here's the interesting part. He's married. I nearly choked on my bourbon. What? Michelle Brandt. They've been married for 8 years. She works as a nurse at Abbott Northwestern. Leon pulled out his phone and showed me a Facebook profile. Pretty woman. Doesn't look like she knows her husband is planning to run off with your wife. I studied the photo. Michelle Brandt was indeed attractive, with kind eyes and a warm smile. She looked like the type of person who baked cookies for her neighbors and volunteered at animal shelters. She definitely didn't look like someone who deserved to have her life destroyed by a cheating husband and his dangerous girlfriend. We need to talk to her, I said. Agreed, but carefully. We don't want to tip off Tyler that we're onto him. Over the next 2 days, while Vanessa was presumably at the cabin with her lover, Leon and I conducted our own investigation. We followed Tyler's routine, learned his habits, and most importantly, we gathered evidence. The breakthrough came on Sunday morning. Leon had been watching the gym while I stayed home with Chloe when he called with news. They're back, he said. Just saw Tyler's truck pull into the gym parking lot. Vanessa's with him. On my way. I dropped Chloe off at my neighbor's house, Mrs. Patterson, a retired teacher who adored my daughter, and met Leon at a coffee shop across from the gym. There, Leon pointed through the yellow window. The red pickup. I watched as Tyler and Vanessa got out of the truck. Even from a distance, I could see the intimacy between them, the way he put his hand on her lower back, how she leaned into him. It should have hurt more than it did, but I was beyond hurt now. I was in full hunting mode. Look at this, Leon said, handing me a pair of binoculars. Check out what's in the back of his truck. I focused the lenses and felt my pulse quicken. There, clearly visible in the truck bed, was the coffee thermos Vanessa had packed for our trip, the one that was supposed to contain my death sentence. We need that thermos, I said. Already on it. I called my buddy Jake from the crime lab. He owes me a favor. If we can get him a sample, he can test it unofficially. We waited until Tyler and Vanessa went inside the gym. Then Leon worked his magic. 20 years as a cop had taught him how to acquire evidence creatively. Within 10 minutes, he'd retrieved the thermos from the unlocked truck. Jesus, he said, unscrewing the lid and sniffing the contents. This smells like almonds. Cyanide? More likely some kind of plant-based poison. Oleander, maybe, or castor beans, something that would cause heart failure but might not show up in a standard autopsy. The casual way we discussed my planned homicide should have been surreal, but my cop training had kicked in. This was just another case now, another puzzle to solve. The fact that I was the intended victim was just an unfortunate detail. Leon took a sample of the coffee and returned the thermos to the truck. Jake will have results by tomorrow morning. That afternoon, Vanessa came home acting like nothing had happened. She breezed through the door with a smile, kissed Chloe hello, and even gave me a peck on the cheek. How was your weekend? I asked, watching her face carefully. Relaxing. I did a lot of thinking. She started unpacking her bag. I think we should try counseling, Eric, for our marriage. The audacity was breathtaking. She'd spent the weekend with her lover planning my homicide, and now she wanted to work on our relationship. That's a great idea, I said. I've been thinking the same thing. That night, after Vanessa fell asleep, I lay awake planning my next move. Leon's call came at 7 the next morning. It's oleander, he said without preamble. Enough to end a horse. Jake says if you'd drunk that coffee, you'd have been dead within an hour. I closed my eyes, feeling the full weight of how close I'd come to leaving Chloe an orphan, raised by the very person who had tried to take me from her. There's something else, Leon continued. Jake ran the sample through the database. This isn't some homemade poison. It's pharmaceutical grade, highly concentrated. Someone with medical knowledge prepared this. Tyler's wife is a nurse. That's what I was thinking. Either she's in on it or someone stole from her supply. I thought about Michelle Brandt's kind face in the Facebook photos. My money's on theft. We need to talk to her. Agreed. But Eric, once we do this, there's no going back. Are you sure you want to blow up everyone's life? I thought about Chloe's frightened face, about the note she'd slipped me to save my life, about the casual way Vanessa had discussed my death in those text messages. They already blew up my life, I said. Now it's my turn. That afternoon, while Vanessa was at the gym teaching her regular classes, I drove to Abbott Northwestern Hospital. Michelle Brandt worked in the cardiac unit, and according to the schedule Leon had obtained through his police contacts, she was on day shift. I found her at the nurse's station, updating patient charts. She was even prettier in person than in her photos, with auburn hair pulled back in a practical ponytail and scrubs that couldn't hide her athletic figure. "Excuse me, are you Michelle Brandt?" She looked up with a professional smile. "Yes, can I help you?" "My name is Eric Dorsey. I think we need to talk about your husband." The smile faded. "I'm sorry, who are you?" "I'm married to one of Tyler's employees, Vanessa Dorsey. She teaches yoga at his gym." Michelle's expression grew wary. "Okay, what about Tyler?" I pulled out my phone and showed her one of the photos I'd taken of the text messages. "I think you should see this." As she read, I watched the color drain from her face. Her hands started to shake, and she had to grip the counter to steady herself. "This can't be real," she whispered. "I'm afraid it is. There's more." I showed her the rest of the messages, watching as her world crumbled in real time. When she got to the part about the life insurance, she actually gasped. "That bastard," she said, her voice barely audible. "That lying, cheating bastard." "There's something else you should know," I said gently. "The poison they used, it was oleander extract, pharmaceutical grade. Someone with medical training prepared it." Her eyes widened. "Are you suggesting that I—" "No, I think someone stole from your supplies. Have you noticed anything missing recently?" Michelle was quiet for a moment, thinking. Then her face went pale. "Last month, Tyler came to the hospital to pick me up after work. He said he wanted to see where I worked. I gave him a tour of the unit." She paused, realization dawning. "He was very interested in our medication storage." "What do you keep there?" "Everything, including oleander extract. We use it in controlled doses for certain cardiac conditions." She looked at me with growing horror. "He stole from my hospital. He used my access to try to homicide you." I nodded grimly. "The question is, what are you going to do about it?" Michelle Brandt stared at the phone screen for another long moment, then looked up at me with steel in her eyes. "I'm going to destroy him," she said quietly. "Both of them." Michelle Brandt turned out to be a natural at revenge. Within 24 hours, she'd helped me set up a trap that would have made my old police colleagues proud. We met at a diner near the hospital, where she laid out her plan with the precision of a surgical procedure. "Tyler thinks he's so smart," she said, stirring her coffee with angry, precise movements. "He's been hiding money from me for months, probably saving up to run away with your wife. But what he doesn't know is that I've been watching." "What kind of money?" "Cash payments from gym members who want to avoid the credit card fees, personal training sessions he doesn't report. He's been skimming from his own business." She pulled out a notebook filled with dates and amounts. "I've been documenting everything. Why? Because I'm not stupid. I could see he was pulling away, being secretive. I thought he was just having a midlife crisis." Her laugh was bitter. "I never imagined he was planning homicide." Leon arrived as we were finishing our coffee, sliding into the booth beside me. "Got some interesting news from my contacts at the IRS. Seems Tyler's gym is under investigation for tax evasion." Michelle's eyes lit up. "How much trouble is he in?" "Enough to go to prison if they can prove intent to defraud. But they need more evidence." "I can give them evidence," Michelle said. "I know where he keeps his real books." Over the next hour, we refined our plan. It was elegant in its simplicity. We were going to use Tyler's own greed against him. "Here's how it works," I explained to Leon as we walked to our cars. "Michelle tells Tyler she's going out of town for a nursing conference this weekend. Meanwhile, I let slip to Vanessa that I'm taking Chloe to visit my sister in Chicago. Leaving them free to spend the weekend together. Exactly. But what they don't know is that we'll be watching and recording." Leon grinned. "I love it when a plan comes together." That evening, I put the first part of our trap into motion. Vanessa was in the kitchen making dinner when I brought up my fictional Chicago trip. "Sarah called today," I said, referring to my sister. "She wants Chloe to come visit for the weekend. Something about a science museum exhibit." Vanessa tried to hide her excitement, but I caught the flash of interest in her eyes. "That sounds nice. When?" "This weekend. I thought I'd drive her down Saturday morning. Maybe stay the night and drive back Sunday." "You don't have to stay," Vanessa said quickly. "I'm sure Sarah would love some alone time with Chloe." "You're right. I could use some time to myself too. Maybe I'll come back Saturday evening." Perfect. That would give them Saturday night together, which was exactly what we wanted. The next morning, I called in sick to the part-time security job I'd finally landed and spent the day with Leon, setting up surveillance equipment. My friend had maintained his contacts in the electronics world, and by afternoon we had enough cameras and recording devices to stock a spy movie. "You sure about this?" Leon asked as we tested the equipment. "Once we have them on tape, there's no going back." "I'm sure." But I wasn't thinking about Vanessa anymore. I was thinking about Chloe, about the scared look in her eyes when she'd handed me that note, about how she'd tried to protect me from her own mother. My daughter deserved better than a dangerous parent and a father who was too blind to see what was happening in his own home. Saturday morning arrived with unseasonably warm weather. I made a show of packing Chloe's overnight bag while Vanessa watched from the kitchen doorway. "Have fun at Aunt Sarah's," Vanessa told Chloe, giving her a hug that looked genuine enough to make me wonder if I was doing the right thing. Then I remembered the text messages, the casual way she'd discussed my death, and my resolve hardened. "We will," Chloe said. She looked at me with those wise 9-year-old eyes, and I could tell she knew something was happening. "Dad, are you okay?" "I'm fine, sweetheart. Everything's going to be okay." I hoped I was telling the truth. Instead of driving to Chicago, I took Chloe to Leon's house, where his wife Maria had agreed to babysit for the day. Maria was a former social worker who'd taken early retirement, and she had a gift for making kids feel safe and comfortable. "Uncle Leon and I have some work to do today," I told Chloe. "But Maria's going to take you to that new movie you wanted to see." "The one with the talking animals?" "That's the one." Chloe hugged me tightly. "Be careful, Dad." "I will." By noon, Leon and I were positioned in a rented van across the street from my house. We had a clear view of the front door and driveway, plus audio from the devices we'd planted inside. At 12:47 p.m., Tyler's red pickup truck pulled into my driveway. "Showtime," Leon muttered, adjusting his headphones. Through the surveillance equipment, we watched Tyler let himself into my house with a key. My wife had given her lover a key to our home. The audacity still amazed me. "Baby, I missed you," we heard Vanessa say through the audio feed. "Missed you too. Where's the kid?" "Chicago with Eric. We have the whole weekend." "Good. We need to talk about what happens next." Leon and I exchanged glances. This was it. They were going to discuss their next homicide attempt. "I still can't believe he didn't drink the coffee," Tyler's voice crackled through the speakers. "He's suspicious. I think he knows something." "How could he know? We were careful." "I don't know, but he's been acting strange, asking questions, watching me." There was a pause, then Tyler spoke again. "Maybe we need to try a different approach." "Like what?" "Make it look like an accident. Car crash, maybe. Or a break-in gone wrong." My hands clenched into fists. They were casually discussing different ways to homicide me, in my own living room, while my daughter's toys were scattered on the floor around them. "I don't know," Vanessa said. "That seems riskier." The poison was risky too. At least with an accident, there's no evidence to trace back to us. What about Chloe? What about her? Kids are resilient. She'll get over it. That was it. That was the moment I stopped feeling any guilt about what I was about to do to them. Leon must have seen something in my face because he put a hand on my shoulder. "Easy, partner. We stick to the plan." For the next 3 hours, we recorded everything. Their discussion of my homicide, their plans to take the life insurance money and start over somewhere new, Tyler's casual mention of how he'd stolen the oleander extract from Michelle's hospital. But the most damning evidence came when they started talking about their financial situation. "I've got about 30 grand in cash," Tyler said. "Money I've been skimming from the gym." "Will that be enough to get us started somewhere new?" "For now. Once your husband's life insurance comes through, we'll be set." "How much longer do we have to wait?" "Not long. I've got a plan." Leon was recording every word, every casual discussion of tax evasion and homicide. By the time they finished talking and moved to my bedroom, I had to remove my headphones for that part. We had enough evidence to destroy both of them. But we weren't done yet. At 6 p.m., Tyler left to go home to Michelle, who was supposed to be at her nursing conference, but was actually waiting at Leon's house with Chloe and Maria. Vanessa settled in to watch TV, probably congratulating herself on a successful day of planning my demise. At 7 p.m., I called her from Leon's cell phone. "Hey, honey," I said, trying to sound tired. "I'm going to stay in Chicago tonight after all. Sarah really wants me to see Chloe's science project, and the drive back is pretty long." "That's fine," Vanessa said, and I could hear the relief in her voice. "Take your time." "I'll be home tomorrow evening. Maybe we can talk then." "I'd like that. Another lie, delivered with perfect sincerity. If their plan worked, I'd be dead by tomorrow evening. But Tyler and Vanessa had made one crucial mistake. They'd underestimated me. They'd seen an unemployed ex-cop with money problems and assumed I was weak, defeated, an easy target. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Sunday morning came with the kind of crisp autumn air that makes you believe in new beginnings. I dropped Chloe off at Mrs. Patterson's house, telling her I had some errands to run. "Dad, you look different today," she said, studying my face with those perceptive eyes. "Different how?" "Stronger, like you're not sad anymore." She was right. For the first time in months, I felt like myself again. Not the defeated, unemployed man who'd been stumbling through life, but the cop who'd never backed down from a fight. "Everything's going to be okay, sweetheart," I told her. "I promise." Leon picked me up at 10 a.m., and we drove to the gym where Tyler was teaching his Sunday morning boot camp class. Michelle was waiting in the parking lot, looking nervous but determined. "You ready for this?" I asked her. "More than ready." She held up a manila envelope. "I've got copies of everything. The tax records, the skimmed cash, the work schedules that prove when he had access to the hospital supplies. And I've got the audio recordings from yesterday," Leon added, plus the photos of the text messages. The plan was simple but devastating. We were going to destroy Tyler Brandt publicly, in front of his clients and employees, using his own words against him. At 10:30, we walked into the gym. Tyler was in the middle of leading a class of about 20 people through a series of exercises. He saw us enter and his face went pale, but he kept teaching. "Tyler Brandt," I called out in my best cop voice, "we need to talk." The class stopped exercising and turned to stare. Tyler tried to maintain his composure, but I could see the panic in his eyes. "I'm in the middle of a class," he said. "Can this wait?" "No, it can't." I pulled out my phone and connected it to the gym's sound system, a trick Leon had taught me earlier. "I think your clients deserve to know what kind of man they're paying for fitness advice." I pressed play. Tyler's voice filled the gym, crystal clear through the speakers. Make it look like an accident, car crash maybe, or a break-in gone wrong. The class members looked confused at first, then increasingly alarmed as the conversation continued. The poison was risky too. At least with an accident, there's no evidence to trace back to us. What about Chloe? What about her? Kids are resilient. She'll get over it. Tyler lunged for the sound system, but Leon stepped in his way. My friend might have been 52 years old, but he was still built like the linebacker he'd been in college. "I wouldn't," Leon said quietly. The recording continued, playing Tyler's casual discussion of tax evasion, theft, and homicide to a room full of horrified witnesses. Several people were already pulling out their phones, recording everything. "I've got about 30 grand in cash. Money I've been skimming from the gym." That's when Michelle stepped forward. "That's my husband's voice," she announced to the room. "He's been planning to homicide Eric Dorsey and run away with Eric's wife. He stole poison from the hospital where I work." The room erupted. People started shouting questions, demanding explanations. Tyler stood in the center of it all, his face red with rage and humiliation. "This is illegal," he shouted. "You can't record someone without their permission." "Actually, in Minnesota, only one party needs to consent to a recording," I said. "And since it was my house you were in discussing my homicide, I think that counts." "You son of a witch!" Tyler swung at me, but I was ready. 20 years of police training kicked in, and I sidestepped his punch easily, grabbing his arm and twisting it behind his back in a move that sent him to his knees. "Assault in front of 20 witnesses," I said calmly. "That's not very smart, Tyler." The gym members were recording everything on their phones now. Within minutes, the video would be all over social media. Tyler Brandt's reputation was finished, but I wasn't done yet. While Leon kept Tyler subdued, I addressed the room. "For those of you who are members here, you should know that this gym is under IRS investigation for tax evasion. Mr. Brandt has been skimming cash from membership fees and personal training sessions. You might want to check your receipts." The exodus began immediately. People started canceling their memberships on the spot, demanding refunds, threatening lawsuits. Tyler's business was collapsing in real time. "Eric," Michelle said quietly, "the police are here." I looked outside and saw 2 squad cars pulling into the parking lot. Someone had called emergency, probably when Tyler threw his punch. "Good," I said. "I've been looking forward to talking to them." The officers who entered were both young, probably rookies. I recognized the type. Eager, by the book. a little overwhelmed by the chaos they'd walked into. "What's going on here?" the taller one asked. "I'd like to report an attempted homicide," I said, pulling out my phone. "And I have evidence." The next hour was a blur of statements, evidence review, and explanations. The police took copies of everything: the recordings, the text messages, Michelle's documentation of the stolen hospital supplies. Tyler was arrested on charges of theft, conspiracy to commit homicide, and assault. But the real punishment wasn't going to come from the legal system. It was going to come from the complete destruction of his reputation and livelihood. By the time we left the gym, videos of the confrontation were already going viral on social media. #gym owner homicide plot was trending on Twitter. Tyler's business was finished. Now it was Vanessa's turn. I found her at home, pacing the living room like a caged animal. She'd obviously heard about what happened at the gym, probably from Tyler's one phone call from jail. "Eric, we need to talk," she said as soon as I walked in. "Yes, we do." I sat down on the couch, the same couch where she'd planned my homicide just 24 hours earlier. "I know everything, Vanessa. The poison, the life insurance, all of it." Her face went white. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Really?" I pulled out my phone and played the recording. Her own voice filled the room, discussing the oleander extract, the coffee thermos, how much poison would be needed to end me. She sank into a chair, all the fight going out of her. "How long have you known?" "Since yesterday. Chloe warned me." "Chloe?" Vanessa's voice was barely a whisper. "Our 9-year-old daughter overheard you planning to homicide her father. Do you have any idea what that did to her?" Vanessa started crying then, but I felt nothing. No sympathy, no regret, no lingering love. Just cold satisfaction. "I've already filed for divorce," I said, "and I'm seeking full custody. Given that you tried to poison me, I don't think you'll be getting visitation rights." "Eric, please. The recordings are already with my lawyer and the police. Your lover is in jail. Your reputation is destroyed, and you're never going to see Chloe again." I stood up and walked toward the door. "I want you out of this house by tomorrow. Take whatever you can carry, but everything else stays here. It's Chloe's home, not yours." "Where am I supposed to go?" I paused at the door and looked back at her. This woman who'd shared my bed for 12 years, who'd given birth to my daughter, who'd planned to watch me die from poison. "I honestly don't care," I said, and I meant it. 3 days later, I thought it was over. Vanessa had moved out, taking only her clothes and personal items. Tyler was still in jail, unable to make bail. The story had made the local news, and the gym had closed permanently. I'd even gotten a job offer from a security firm that had seen the coverage. Apparently, my handling of the situation had impressed them. Chloe and I were starting to build a new routine. She seemed lighter somehow, as if a weight had been lifted from her small shoulders. We'd talked about what had happened, with the help of a child therapist, and she was handling it better than I dared to hope. "Dad," she said over breakfast that Thursday morning, "are the bad people gone now?" "Yes, sweetheart. They're gone." I should have known it wouldn't be that simple. The first sign of trouble came that evening. I was helping Chloe with her homework when my phone rang. The caller ID showed Michelle Brandt's number. "Eric, thank God you answered." Her voice was shaky, frightened. "Tyler made bail. His brother put up his house as collateral." My blood ran cold. "When?" "An hour ago. He came by the house to get some clothes. He was different, angry in a way I've never seen before. He kept talking about how you'd destroyed his life." "What exactly did he say?" "That you'd pay for what you did, that he wasn't going to prison because of some washed-up cop with a God complex." She paused. "Eric, I think he's planning something." I looked at Chloe, bent over her math homework at the kitchen table, and felt a familiar chill of fear. "Where are you now?" "At my sister's house. I'm not going home tonight, maybe not for a while." Smart woman. "Thanks for the warning, Michelle." After I hung up, I called Leon. He arrived within 20 minutes, armed and grim-faced. "We should call the police," he said, checking the locks on my doors. "And tell them what? That a man who's out on bail might be angry at me? They can't do anything until he actually breaks the law." "So we wait for him to make a move?" I looked around my house. Chloe's artwork on the refrigerator, her backpack by the front door, the life we'd built together in this space. Tyler had already taken so much from us. I wasn't going to let him take our home too. "No," I said, "we prepare." Leon grinned. "Now you're talking." We spent the next 2 hours turning my house into a fortress. Leon brought over equipment from his security business, Motion sensors, cameras, recording devices. We set up a command center in the basement with monitors showing every angle of the house and yard. If he comes, we'll know about it long before he gets to the door, Leon said. I sent Chloe to spend the night at Mrs. Patterson's house, telling her it was a sleepover. She was excited about the impromptu adventure, unaware that I was trying to keep her safe from a potentially violent ex-convict. Call me if you need anything, I told Mrs. Patterson. And if anyone comes asking about Chloe, don't answer the door. The elderly woman's eyes sharpened. Is there trouble, Eric? Maybe, I hope not. That night, Leon and I took turns on watch. The motion sensors remained quiet. The cameras showed nothing but empty yards and sleeping neighbors. By morning, I was starting to think maybe Tyler had just been blowing off steam. I should have trusted my cop instincts. The attack came the following night at 2:17 a.m. The motion sensor in my backyard went off first, followed by the one near the side gate. Leon and I were both awake instantly, moving to our positions. 2 contacts, Leon whispered, watching the monitors. Backyard and east side of the house. Tyler and who else? Can't tell. They're staying in the shadows. I watched the screens, my heart pounding. 2 figures moved carefully around my house, testing windows, looking for weak points. One was definitely Tyler. I recognized his bulk even in the darkness. The other was smaller, more agile. That's Vanessa, I breathed. They were working together, my homicidious wife and her lover, probably planning one final attempt to silence me permanently. The first window they tried was in the kitchen. I'd expected that. It was the most secluded, hardest to see from the street. What they didn't know was that I'd rigged it with a surprise. The moment Tyler forced the window open, a piercing alarm sounded throughout the house. Not a security system alarm. Those could be disabled. This was a marine air horn, the kind used on boats, loud enough to wake the entire neighborhood. Crap! I heard Tyler curse through the audio feed, but instead of running, they pressed forward. Tyler hauled himself through the kitchen window while Vanessa kept watch outside. He was committed now, probably figuring he had nothing left to lose. I was waiting for him in the kitchen, standing in the shadows by the refrigerator. When he straightened up from climbing through the window, I stepped into the light. "Hello, Tyler." He spun around and I saw that he was holding a knife, a big hunting knife with a serrated edge. His eyes were wild, desperate. "You destroyed my life," he snarled. "No, Tyler. You destroyed your own life when you decided to take someone else's." He lunged at me with the knife, but I was ready. 20 years of police training, plus 3 days of preparation, had given me every advantage. I sidestepped his attack and brought a cast-iron skillet down on his wrist. The knife clattered to the floor. Tyler howled in pain and rage, cradling his probably broken wrist. But he wasn't done fighting. He charged at me like the linebacker he'd once been, trying to tackle me to the ground. We crashed into the kitchen table, sending Chloe's homework flying. Tyler was bigger than me, but I was faster and smarter. I used his momentum against him, rolling with his tackle and throwing him over my shoulder. He hit the floor hard, his head bouncing off the tile. "Stay down," I warned. But Tyler was beyond reason now. He struggled to his feet and came at me again, this time with a broken chair leg he'd grabbed from the wreckage of the table. I ducked his swing and hit him with a right cross that would have made my old boxing coach proud. Tyler dropped like a stone. That's when Vanessa made her entrance. She came through the front door. I'd left it unlocked, knowing she still had her key. What I hadn't expected was the tool in her hand. "Step away from him," she said, pointing the tool at my chest. "Where did you get that, Vanessa?" "Tyler's truck. He said we might need it." Her hands were shaking, but she was close enough that it wouldn't matter. "You ruined everything, Eric. We could have been happy. You were going to poison me, homicide me in cold blood. You would have died peacefully. You wouldn't have suffered." She was crying now, tears streaming down her face. "But you had to be so incredibly stubborn. You had to fight back. I had to protect my daughter, our daughter. She would have been fine. I would have taken care of her. The way you took care of me?" That's when Leon made his move. He'd been watching from the basement, waiting for the right moment. While Vanessa was focused on me, he came up behind her through the back hallway. "Drop the tool, Vanessa." She spun around, but Leon was already on her. He grabbed her wrist and twisted, sending the tool sliding across the floor. Vanessa collapsed, sobbing. "It's over," I said, looking down at Tyler's unconscious form and my crying wife. "It's finally over." The police arrived 6 minutes later. Leon had called them the moment the alarm went off. This time, there would be no bail, no second chances. Tyler was charged with breaking and entering, assault with a deadly tool, and violation of his bail conditions. Vanessa was charged as an accessory, but more importantly, I had it all on tape. Every word, every action recorded in high definition. The footage would ensure they both went to prison for a long time. As the police led them away, Vanessa looked back at me one last time. "I loved you," she said. "No," I replied. "You loved the idea of my life insurance money. There's a difference." 3 months later, I was sitting in a courtroom watching my wife and her lover get sentenced to 15 years in prison each. The judge had been particularly harsh, noting that their crimes involved a level of premeditation and callousness that shocks the conscience. Chloe wasn't in the courtroom. She was at school, living her normal 9-year-old life. She'd adjusted remarkably well to our new reality, helped by regular therapy sessions and the knowledge that the people who'd threatened her father were locked away. After the sentencing, I walked out of the courthouse into bright spring sunshine. Leon was waiting by his car, grinning. "So, what now?" he asked. "Now? Now I go pick up my daughter from school. We're going to get ice cream and talk about her science project. Then we're going home to our house where no one is plotting to end us." Sounds like a good plan. I looked back at the courthouse one last time, thinking about the woman I'd married 12 years ago, the woman who'd given birth to my daughter, the woman who'd tried to poison me for insurance money. "You know what the funny thing is?" I said to Leon. "She was right about one thing. Chloe is better off now. We both are." As we drove away, I thought about anniversaries, how they're supposed to mark happy occasions, celebrate milestones, commemorate love. My wedding anniversary had become something else entirely, the day I learned that the person I trusted most in the world was my greatest enemy. But it had also become the day I learned that I was stronger than I'd ever imagined, that my daughter was braver than any 9-year-old should have to be, that true friends, like Leon, were worth their weight in gold. Most importantly, it had become the day I learned that sometimes the best revenge isn't getting even. It's simply surviving, thriving, and building a better life from the ashes of betrayal. Tyler and Vanessa had tried to write the ending to my story. Instead, they'd given me the chance to write a new beginning. Chloe was waiting for me at school pickup, her backpack slung over one shoulder, a bright smile on her face. When she saw me, she ran over and threw her arms around my waist. "Dad, guess what? I got an A on my science project." "That's fantastic, sweetheart. What do you say we celebrate with ice cream? Can we get the kind with the chocolate chips? We can get whatever kind you want." As we walked to the car, Chloe looked up at me with those wise eyes that had saved my life. "Dad, are you happy now?" I thought about the question, really considered it. For the first time in years, I wasn't looking over my shoulder, wasn't wondering what secrets were being kept from me, wasn't living with the constant low-level anxiety of a failing marriage. "Yeah, kiddo, I'm happy." And I meant it.